I've been a photographer for 50 years. I worked out of Chicago as a freelancer. I worked for news organizations. I worked for Gamma Liaison, which is an international photo agency in Paris. I've been in Time and Newsweek and Christian Science Monitor, USA Today, and Chicago Tribune, Sun-Times. I covered 4 presidential elections, which is why I know how to use long lenses. Politicians hate it when you get in their face with a long lens. So do rock musicians. And it's one of my favorite things to do. When I was a teenager, I saw some pictures by David Douglas Duncan of some political candidates, and he filled a 35mm frame with just a face. And I thought that was so awesome, I just had to do it. So every time I go out on assignment, that's one of the first things I look for. My arsenal consists of 5 camera bodies and lenses from 14mm wide angle to a 2000mm mega lens. I got to give credit to Carolyn Schluter, who talked me into doing this and loaned me one of her 600mm lenses. And she knew where all the eagle nests are. She knew where all the birds were. She was wonderful. I couldn't have done it without her. Usually I shoot people. I'm known as an editorial photographer. I shoot fashion sometimes. I shoot portraits a lot. I shoot human interest, which means basically I have a wonderful sense of humor. Politicians hate it when you do that. But you got to look for humor in pictures, even if it'll never sell. You want to at least make the effort. The Oak Brook Polo Club in Chicago was one of my clients. It took me a year and $10,000 to get the account. And the reason I wanted the account is I wanted to photograph Prince Charles playing polo. So I got to shoot him. I got a personal audience with him. I shot early tight headshot, and I got a couple others, but I dressed up in a tuxedo, and I have never been more well behaved in my life. I did an exclusive for Newsweek. There was a guy named Gary Dotson who was convicted of rape and sent to prison. And years later, the girl recanted her story. She told the court that she lied and that he should be freed. So I got assigned to it. It was interesting because we had to shoot him coming out of the prison at Joliet, Illinois. And the prison was really strange because the prisoners scream all day and all night. So it's really an unnerving place to be. We got him out. I got to talk to him a little bit. During his retrial, he got sent back to jail, and everybody goes running out of the courtroom crying and stuff. I got him. I got the woman who recanted her story, all running out of the courthouse in tears. My flash died, so I took the flash off. I took the batteries out of my motor drive, and I put them in the flash, and I finished the shoot. I shot 9 frames, all appeared in a full-page spread in Newsweek, and were distributed worldwide. They sold mostly in Europe and Asia, but it was a big sale. It was probably my biggest sale. The picture editor at Newsweek came into Chicago to see me, took me to lunch, and said, "You gotta tell me how you did this. I can't figure out how somebody can shoot a full page in Newsweek with 9 frames of film," which is what I did. So all 9 frames were perfect. Paid $10,000 My cut was $10,000. The agency got a little more, but that was one of my biggest sales. After he got let out of prison, we shot him coming out of the Joliet prison. Raced back to Chicago. My assistant broke every traffic law imaginable. We go roaring up to the driveway of this kid's house. Hopped out. He looks at me and he says, "Hi, Ken, would you like a beer?" Then everybody went home. It was great. I have a trained eye. So it's from looking at all kinds of different textures. When I was 18 years old, I went to the University of Illinois to take my first photography class, and they had us looking at alley walls for a year. And you wouldn't think that that would be a particularly educational idea, or you wouldn't think that it would be good. What it does, it teaches you about form, teaches you about texture, it teaches you about how many different things you can do with exposure. Especially in a dark room. We shot on film in those days, and there's so many different ways that you can change film. I had to do it because I worked on newspapers, and they don't give you perfect lighting. They don't give you much. I would probably go with digital, just because you can do so much more with it. I mean, all we had to do, if we shot color, in the old days, if we shot color, we shot Ektachrome or Kodachrome and sent it off to the lab, and that was it. I was the largest shooter of Kodachrome in the city of Chicago. I shot it for everything. Black and white film was no big deal. It was Tri-X or Panatomic X and Rodinal, 1:50 for 14.5 minutes. You printed it on a grade 3 or 4 paper, did some burning and dodging, and that was pretty much it. I could do way more with a digital image than I could with a film image, although if I get a really good scan, I can do a lot. Adobe has got a program where I can colorize an image, and that's big fun. That really is a blast. Well, my grandfather gave me his Leica when I was 16 years old. And that was a beautiful little camera. I took it all over the place. I beat it to death. I shot my first wire photo was a riot. It was a Ku Klux Klan riot on the south side of Chicago, and it ran at Associated Press. It paid all the $15. Why I didn't get my head busted, I'll never know, but I didn't. I was pretty lucky in that direction. Another guy was John H. White. He's a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer for the Chicago Sun-Times. First photographer I met when I moved to Chicago in '72. Nicest guy in the world. He's teaching in Baltimore now, I think. Another big one was a commercial photographer named Chuck Wood, who shot all the TV pictures for Zenith Television. Big consoles and stuff. He was neat.